Good evening, everybody. This is Cinnamon Noir.
And this is the Ramen Shaman.
Welcome back to V. And, if you're wondering why I stopped the last video in the middle of a cliffhanger here, I don't remember why either.
Fair enough.
But yeah, like the last dungeon we went through, this is not, in fact, the end. We have more to go through. Fortunately, in this one, we just have to go ourselves. We don't have to babysit some jack-off.
Wii Sports. Oh. I didn't actually get it until I said it out loud.
Wow, I forgot this actually came out after Wii Sports. That's what's weird. This game is so old to me. But yeah, Wii Sports would have been like 2006.
Yep.
Anyway, so this is the Gravitron, a very curious little sub-level that we get to after rescuing Victoria. Basically, you just have to survive for as long as possible. Every 5 seconds, you will get a checkpoint, so that if you die frequently, like I do, because you're a scrub, then you can still get through this level. You just kind of have to get lucky. If you got through this without dying, then you have my sincere envy.
Yeah, this seems like a no-hit sand, like fighting Sans no-hit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Actually, this just seems like fighting Sans.
Yeah, basically it's the same thing. They're both punishment for having done something wrong. In this case, choosing to play this game. No, I'm kidding. No, it's just kind of tough. One thing is that you get these arrows to show that things are coming in from off-screen, but you have to intuit how fast they're going. Because it doesn't really tell you that. And so, balancing your movements in order to be able to get through these, you sort of have to enter a zen-like state where you start noticing not the objects themselves, but the spaces between them. If you know what I mean. And I am not good at zen, so...
No.
Instead, I just do the trial and error approach where I keep trying to get to the 5-second mark, and often failing. What's interesting is that there is basically a different type of polygon thing coming at you each 5 seconds, so that it shakes it up a little bit, so it's not random. But I don't think the later ones are really much harder than the early ones. The first 10 seconds is pretty easy, but after that, they all kind of seem like the same to me. Anyway, I feel like Terry Kavanagh must have really loved this idea, because there's actually something later on that mimics this. It's kind of interesting. It takes the flipping mechanic, which we had in the last dungeon, and kind of flips it on its head. It gives it a new dimension, so to speak. But yeah, I'm actually not doing bad here. So I wonder how long I can keep this up. The answer is, actually, to the end. I was surprised. So yeah, Victoria feels sick. As do I. I'm sick of this level, personally, so let's get out of here. But first, gotta dance. Not for long, though. I finally realized people might have been getting sick of it. So yeah, here we are. 5 crew members rescued. Oh, sorry, 4. We're one of them. Only one left. And that is Professor Vitellary, who is the weirdest of the 6. I don't even know what his name is referring to because it's a word I've never heard. Assuming it is a real word. So yeah, Violet mentions that Victoria is kind of the shy one of the group. She doesn't actually like adventuring. She just, I guess, takes it on sufferance. Or maybe she needs the money. But she's also in charge of the little trinkets we've been collecting. I also like that this whole emotional conversation takes place upside down. It does show that Victoria, at least, is able to flip, which some of the others can't. Oh, and Victoria was able to find... I think once you've collected a certain number of trinkets, Victoria can show you the locations of the rest. Technically, she shows you the room they're in, but since the rooms are all single screens, you'll be able to see any of them once you get to that room. Anyway, so we're going to head off immediately to try to find Vitellary, but you might be able to tell from the video's length that finding him is a bit more complicated than finding the others. Our goal is also to explore more of the map, which we're going to have to do in order to find him. There's lots of little random rooms in here. We're also going to be finding some more warp points. So this talks about an inversion plane, which is interesting, because inversion is basically what this game's all about, the flipping of gravity. So So I wonder if they did something that's like flipping the entire universe inside out, you know what I mean? Maybe that's the reason why you can warp places and stuff. I don't know. This game has a little bit of tech babble, but not a lot, actually. It mostly leaves crucial things unexplained. Like, for instance, there isn't even a name for the kind of people that Captain Viridian and his teammates are. I guess they're just supposed to be humans, that's the idea, but humans can't do what Viridian does, so...
So there's not really much of an explanation for why you can invert gravity?
Oh, there's no explanation for that. This universe is just kind of surreal. It's taken for granted that this is something people like him can do.
I guess.
And the fact that, as you may remember from earlier, red guys cannot do it. Who knows? Maybe in the future there's some kind of weird genetic testing that leads to hideous, large-headed mutations that have this power. And that's why they have giant smiley faces. And for some reason it didn't work on red people. Oh, also it turned all human beings into various pastel colors. I mean, it would kind of have to do that. No, really, part of the charm of this game is that it has an unusual universe, but it doesn't bother to explain much of it. It's just quirky. That's certainly typical of the kind of game that this is based on, the old-fashioned, ZX Spectrum or Commodore 64 games, where you just had a basic goal and you would go through it. I don't know, it's curious. You've played Super Meat Boy, right?
Yeah.
So Captain Viridian is a guest character in that, like a lot of other characters from indie games. And I'm wondering, in Super Meat Boy, is Viridian also a human being? Because that's another universe, now that I think about it, where there are no real human beings at all.
Good point.
The only people in that universe are a boy made out of meat, a girl who is made out of... Is she made out of bandages, or does she just have a bandage? I never really understood that.
I couldn't tell you.
And then a fetus in a jar who's also evil.
All I remember is the time, I believe it was me, but you were there, where I beat a level by 1/100th of a second.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, there's all kinds of weird bonus characters in Super Meat Boy. You can become a head crab. You can become... What is that character called? Who's literally just like a two-dimensional thing? It's called, like, Fly Shaft or something? I don't remember. Anyway, it's kind of weird. We have a two-dimensional character here, and then there's almost a one-dimensional character. But yeah, we're going to go down this little bonus area, looking for trinkets. I figured I'd collect a few of them before the last video. And this is a very protracted bonus segment here. What could be at the other end? Oh. So this is what could be at the other end. Seizure warning, I guess. This is probably one of the weirdest things in the entire game. It is literally just a giant, flashing Technicolor elephant.
Actually, it makes me think of the parable of the blind man and the elephant. I guess because you're only seeing little bits of it at a time.
Maybe. You're saying it looks like a different thing from each angle?
I
do imagine, in the first room, it probably is a little difficult to tell at first that it is an elephant. It just looks like a pile of legs.
I could tell pretty quickly.
Yeah, I like that parable. It's very emblematic of humanity. The one who feels the tail thinks it's a snake, right?
I think he thinks it's a rope. Maybe he thinks it's a snake.
A rope's not an animal.
True.
Okay, whatever. Except in Zelda, where snakes are literally called ropes. Anyway, here we are in another little dungeon. This is a curious one. It has a lot of trinkets in it, and it's sort of a central hub for a lot of rooms in the game. But it is not itself a dungeon so much. We don't discover Vitellary inside here so much as in another area that we get to by going through here. It's very curious. So there's a trinket in that room, however, you cannot get it by going down. You have to go the long way. And here I'm just screwing up a little bit. One tricky thing about that room is that you have to bear in mind your momentum, while also realizing that as soon as you flip, your momentum will stop. So I kept flipping thinking I was going to keep moving forward, when in fact that's not the way momentum works in this game. Flipping instantly arrests your forward momentum. This is another room where you kind of have to learn that. So, that room is called You Just Keep Coming Back. The reason being, if you go around this area much, you will keep coming back to that room over and over again. Like so. There's a trinket, as you can see, in the left bottom corner of the room, so that's one reason to come back. But we will not be getting it this episode. Instead, in the time-honored tradition of LPs, we will cheat. But I'm anticipating. This room isn't too complicated. You just have to remember that you need to step off from one to the other, and not too fast either. So I hate these things. This is actually my least favorite challenge in the whole game, and that's including the ones where you have to guide the frickin' red one around, because you're going on a conveyor belt with those guys, and you literally have to tap the forward button in order to get past fast enough. And you have to have almost perfect timing. It's actually very... Oh, sorry, I'm wrong. This isn't the one we cheat at. I actually get this. I dissed myself for no reason.
That seemed... That one with the spikes actually seemed almost worse.
Yeah, this room is probably worse than the one in which you get the trinket. But of course, you do have to go through it in order to get the trinket, so... It all balances out. Yeah, this one you have to make sure to go to the far right-hand side of that one platform in order to get across. And you also need to make sure to not fail at this thing the easy way, which you would think, considering that I managed to get through the hard way with reasonable quickness, that getting through the easy way would not be a problem. But, as usual, I defy expectations. These things are really weird. I don't know what the idea of these is, except maybe just to be vaguely scary.
That does seem kind of... like it's trying to say something.
Yeah. It's like when you steal stuff from the shop in Link's Awakening and the title of your file turns to Thief. But actually, I think it has no meaning at all, because there's no, like, secret, horrible lie at the back of this game. This game has a very simple story, and there's no twists, so... I don't know what they're getting at. But this thing looks kind of cool. You see that big purple thing?
Uh-huh.
I wondered for a long time what that is, and I still really don't know. What I do know is that technically it is an enemy, from this perspective. Oh, by the way, Vermilion has come to meet us. He's realized that one of our teammates is near here. As he ought to, since there's only one left. Anyway, let's talk to this thing. Well, let's never talk to that thing again. No, it really just kills you. I don't know what's up with that thing. But now we're going to another one of these weird TV cameras. This one is receiving the lies. Now that I think about it, actually, this may be the same unbroken line of lies. I thought at first these were two different ones, but they may be on the same plane, which would technically mean it's the same group. I don't know. Just another weird thing. One of many about this weird game. This is kind of a fun little room. You've got to bear in mind exactly where it's going at any given time and flip to the right place based on that. So for instance, if you flip onto this going left from where I just was, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
You need to remember to get on it when it's going the right direction. And that last one's a little difficult because you have to time it just right in order to land on it.
The name is kind of clever. Kind of.
Which name in particular?
Just
is it one that's gone now?
Down.
Oh yeah. The one before it said something like when you fall up. So it's a combined pun. When you fall up, just pick yourself down, you know. Yeah, Bennett Foddy's very clever at that kind of thing. Here's a room that's more annoying and gives me more trouble than I think it should. The main thing is just that fall in the middle, which is the most dangerous one, is also the hardest to do.
Yeah, because of the slowing.
Oh, so here we have the most fun trinket in the game. And one that I actually will not be getting, this one.
The warning is kind of clever.
Yep. The log literally makes fun of you. Because, as the room says, we're doing things the hard way. The trinket's literally right over there. If Viridian could just hop a little bit, or step over things, he could get that. Instead, he has to go all the way up through this series of rooms, then hit that platform, flip, and go all the way back down again, through the same set of rooms. Oh, and of course that room says getting here is half the fun. That's a lie, actually. Getting there is all of the fun, because this is no fun at all. But yeah, that is the hardest challenge in the game. I cannot think of one that is harder. Maybe, from a certain sense, the one that requires you to not get any of the checkpoints, and then go through a bunch of rooms in order to get it back. But still, I don't think it's as hard as that. Not only do you have to remember the layout of all those rooms, but also everything is so finicky. Yeah. Like, normally I'd expect a challenge that requires you to do all these things to at least be fairly generous. In a game like Shovel Knight, it would be. But this game, of course, is old-fashioned. So it's hard as crap. Anyway, you might recognize this area. It's actually the beginning of the game, basically.
Mm-hmm.
The Tomb of Mad Karu is one of the first rooms we were ever in. And so, by going through that thing that was called the escape shaft, or whatever it was, we have actually ended up near the beginning of the game. You can get to some more trinkets if you're more careful than I was, but I've basically just cut myself off from where I was supposed to go. Which also included getting Vitellary, so I need to warp back. And not here, actually. I think I need to warp again. There are some warps that you discover on the way to Vitellary, so it's not entirely punishing for you to take that shortcut out of there. But you might want to be careful, you know, it is a little too easy to screw yourself over. It's funny, all the other ones were fairly straightforward. We entered a separate area, went to the end of it, and there the team member was. With Vitellary, it's kind of a puzzle to make your way to him. Which I guess makes sense, because he is a professor. So his should be the riddliest of all of them.
True.
Anyway, I somehow forgot which was the entrance of this place. So I came back here. Whereas this is where I was actually supposed to be going. However, I think it also occurred to me at this point that it might be faster to warp. Yeah, I was screwing around a little bit here. Maybe I should have edited this out, but, you know, old-fashioned game. The confusion is part of the experience. I'd hate for people to miss out on it. It kind of makes me wonder what a Let's Play of a text adventure would be like. Because not only do you spend long periods of time trying to just think of what to do in a text adventure, but there's no graphics. So it would literally just be looking at a screen with nothing happening for minutes on end. That does sound like my kind of Let's Play. I think I should do a text adventure someday. Anyway, we're back here where Vermilion ended up. And this time we're actually going to find Vitellary. Have you ever seen a text adventure being played, Greg? Or played one yourself?
I don't know that I have. I just remember the strong bad getting last joke.
Oh, yeah. See, that thing is more funny if you've played text adventures, because the whole point is that the main part of a text adventure is the so-called graphics parser. Or, not graphics, sorry. What is it called? Text parser.
Text parser.
The thing... Sorry, what?
Oh, go ahead.
The thing that recognizes your commands and tells you what happened because of the commands. And so, the thing had a very specific grammar. You had to talk to it kind of like you would program, like you would talk to a computer.
Yeah.
And so, they would think of, like, funny ways to say that the thing doesn't know, like, what the heck are you talking about? Or they would program it to act like a human would. But you could still tell it was a computer that didn't know what you were talking about because, you know, it didn't know English.
Yeah.
So yeah, you would say things like, get something, or say, I don't understand get. Or you'd say, get the heck out of there, and be like, I don't understand heck. One of the funny things about text adventures is a lot of them could recognize curse words, and if you type them in, it would basically chew you out for cussing.
Undertale actually does that.
Does it? Oh, I didn't realize.
It definitely, and, there's, I forget the robot, I forget what it's called.
Metaton.
But there's one part where it asks you a tricky question, and it will actually, it specifically punished me. I gave it a response that included an F-bomb.
Oh.
And it punished me for that.
Well, good for it. You shouldn't cuss at games made by Toby Fox. He's a very sensitive young boy. Anyway, what I should have done in the exhaust chute is just ridden this to the left. That would have taken me around to the place where I need to go. In other words, it was harder to mess up. But that's just the kind of guy I am. I don't do easy things.
True.
But yeah, I forgot Undertale has sections that are like a text adventure. Toby Fox does seem to be fond of some older games. Like, older than him. Now that I think about it, Zork's older than him and me, so...
That's not really surprising, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is kind of funny, because this whole idea of computers not really understanding what you're talking about, but the programmers wanting to make it look like it does...
Yeah.
To me, that's behind a lot of those blue screen of death things, where it's like, OMG, I'm sorry, your computer crashed. We're just hang on a minute and we're gonna fix it. Which is supposed to make you feel more kindly disposed toward the computer, but I actually hate it. It seems too cutesy to me.
Well, what I'd like is more, you know, like an error
Information.
code or something, so that if it can't fix itself, I can look it up and see what the hell's going on.
That'd be way too much work. Microsoft would rather just put an emoticon on the screen.
True.
That frowny face, I swear, when it first showed up in the blue screen of death, I was like, stop trying to mollify me. This is annoying, and you're not going to make it less annoying. Anyway, sorry, that trinket I should have been talking about is frickin' impossible. So we are not going to get it here. Instead, we are going to find Vitellary,
Fair
who
enough.
is so soon after this that it almost seems anticlimactic. It's weird how small this sub-area that he's in is, compared to what we had to go through to get to that area. Anyway, let's just go back. This is one of very few warp rooms after a team member that you can kill yourself on. I don't know what the point of that is. Maybe so you can try the trinket. Sorry, try to get it. But... Anyway, there I was just harassing Vitellary by almost overlapping him. My rhythm is getting worse and worse in these dance segments, I gotta say. My past self apologizes.
To your present self?
No, to all of you. So, all crew members rescued. The game should be over, right? I mean, that was the only point of the game. Was to get everyone back to the ship, and now they are all back. Except they're not all back, because now we're missing.
Oh god.
Yep. Something went wrong with that wormhole. Admittedly, going through a bend in space-time probably isn't the most, like, secure thing to do.
True.
Mistakes can happen, you know. So yeah, we're stuck in some kind of dimensional rift at this point. We better get ourselves out of it. Anyway, this has the looping room format, similar to the dungeon where we rescued Vermilion, I think? It also has the little, change gravity strings that we saw when we rescued Victoria. So basically we're seeing a combination of all the different puzzle tricks that we saw before, which is pretty cool. I like games that do that.
Yeah.
Some people would call this a final exam dungeon. Personally, I prefer final exam bosses, but whatever. Anyway, this one is funny. It's kind of tricky. You can try to go to the right, but that will always send you right into the spikes. So you have to go around the long way in that room. Also, we have a pretty kick-ass remix of the game's theme. This is really pumping bass. So yeah, this room you gotta be careful coming in from the next one, because those spikes start really quick. Basically, like a lot of these rooms that are looping, you have to start conceiving of it as a room cut in half, so that you can sort of rearrange it in your mind and know where your character is going to go from off-screen. And once you do that, it's not too difficult. This one can be a little annoying, however. These guys move very fast, and avoiding them is not easy. I would almost say that this is harder than the last room, even though the last room looks more intimidating. But you just gotta be kind of careful, and you can do it in one very long bound. Now we're entering an area that is similar to the one that was right before we rescued Victoria, and this is kind of complicated. Very tight passage through these rings. So you gotta know exactly what you're doing, and move as little as possible, while also making sure you do in fact move.
Oh, that's just mean.
This is pretty mean, honestly.
Ow.
It's not quite as bad as trying to do the, whatever it was called, I've already forgotten it, without dying once, but still annoying.
The fact that I guess you can only...
There we go.
Well, they always start out in the same position, right? So you...
That's right. I'm just fooling around in here. You can actually go into the room from the other direction. It's kind of weird. This is a weird one, too. So Viridian falls in a different, at a different rate to all of these things. So, instead of just making your way through a gap in it that's noticeable, you have to wait to be in the right position to do it. This room's not the bad one.
Vertigo?
Yeah. We certainly do have vertigo. But, that was horrible. I'll slap myself. But this room is not bad. It's this room that's really annoying. I have never gotten down exactly how to get through these things. Probably because they're aimed in the opposite of the direction that you would want to go. So when you're going through them, you might think that like you'll fall with them, but you're actually falling in the exact wrong direction to hit them if they're anywhere near you. So you have to fall from way above them, which I kind of mess up a lot. This one, I was screwing around for too long, and I actually bumped into the bottom of it. You don't really have much time here. Once you have the opening, you have to go all the way through in one bound. So you gotta do this, and then immediately go through the other side. If you don't, you will hit it. I don't know whether Viridian is falling faster than these things, or slower than them. Because either one might account for the effect we're seeing. I guess in this weird, like, dimensional thing we're in, they amount to the same thing, so what difference does it make? Up is down, black is white, topsy is turvy, everything's changed around here. I don't know what this is referring to. 1950 Silverstone Grand Prix. This kind of sounds like a car race. But it's probably some really bizarre in-joke that only Terry Kavanagh and Bennett Foddy get. I would not put it past them. Actually, I wouldn't put it past Bennett Foddy to put in a joke that only he gets. And not even Terry Kavanagh understands it. So here's a TV. Or I should say a monitor. And we can use it to shut down the interference. Which might be a bad idea because we're in this dimensional rift, so we might just destroy it. But Viridian has absolutely no qualms. He just does it. Which I admire about him. He's a very decisive man. Or giant-headed thing. I don't know if he is a man. He's certainly a male whatever he is, because it's been made clear that there are male and female Viridians.
I guess.
Speaking of which, just a random thing as long as we're not, we don't have anything important to talk about. What is your favorite video game that has aliens as protagonists? I don't just mean aliens in it, I mean like you play an alien.
I'm trying to think.
For some reason these guys make me think of the aliens from Pikmin.
The only one that comes to mind is Destroy All Humans, and I'm not huge on that game, to be honest.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm a fan of sci-fi stuff, especially the pulpy kind that would feature aliens. But now that I think about it, even I have not played a lot of games that feature aliens as protagonists. And technically in Destroy All Humans, you're still playing a villain alien. It's a protagonist villain.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
so this is
a villain protagonist.
Yeah. So one last nasty little trick, you gotta go through another one of these. I don't think this is any different from the other one, except that they're spaced out a little more, which means it's harder to avoid them on the rebound. You just gotta be very careful. In general, though, this section with the weird Technicolor freakout, after you shut down the Dimensional Rift, I think is easier than the first part.
Dial M
it does not seem harder
to me. An odd choice for a name.
It is an odd room name. I'm kind of thinking he was just running out of ideas. I mean, like Gunsmoke 1966? That's clearly a reference to the TV show, but what does it mean? Maybe that's when the show was cancelled. And like the room's gonna cancel your existence. I don't know, who can fathom the mind of Bennett Foddy? I mean, really.
True.
This is the guy who made Getting Over It. Which, ironically, I have still not gotten over. Anyway, I love the Panic Room. It's kind of fun. So this is the thing that resembles the tower. The last major challenge in this. And what it is that if you panic and go onto the most obvious square, you'll just die, because that'll leave you with nowhere to go except hit the bottom, which has spikes. What you need to do is, at exactly the right moment, head to the right, where there is a square below you, but you won't be able to see it until after you've started falling. Which is pretty clever and pretty nasty. And here we have the second tower. Because of course there had to be another one. What's funny is, this is kind of difficult and annoying. Like, I died a lot of times in this, but I love this section. I think it's really cool. I love how you get flipped several times here. And then, it helps if you know that rather than trying to land on that one platform and flip again, it's better just to let the thing carry you all the way to the left. And then you'll just be able to flip right onto that little thing. You see right there, I tried to flip again. Like, I tried to keep it more under my control, and the result was that I wasted too much time. The thing that makes that particular jump kind of difficult is that you have to move to the left and then right immediately.
You gotta really shoot that. You gotta really loop around in that one part.
Yeah, you're kind of shooting the curl there. To use some surfer lingo.
Is that actual surfer language?
It is actual surfer language. And if you don't believe me, just ask a surfer. I don't know any, so I can't.
Neither do I, so...
No, shooting the curl, it means you're going through the part of the wave when it bends over. It's very difficult and may kill you, depending on the size of the wave. And that's what makes it cool. It's in a lot of Beach Boys songs, you know? And the Beach Boys, those were real surfers. Although, ironically, did you know that Dennis Wilson is the only member of the Beach Boys who regularly surfed?
Huh.
The other ones didn't really like the beach all that much. Brian Wilson mostly liked to just, sit in his den and get high. Admittedly, very popular in the 60s.
True.
But so is surfing, so Alright, so we get 13 trinkets out of 20, which is kind of funny. That's what we're going to end the main game with. And yeah, now we're just falling through space. Wasn't it important that we got out of there, so that we can just float in space forever? Honestly, I would have preferred to just stay in the dungeon. At least it was interesting. Although it may have been collapsing, so that probably wasn't the best idea. So yeah, I died 303 times in this game, which is kind of curious. And the hardest room is the tower, which is a little misleading, because the tower is one giant room. So it's almost impossible for you to die more times anywhere else, unless you're really good at the tower and really bad at some other room. I mean, technically, you have 15 times more deaths in the tower than you'd have anywhere else, statistically. Assuming you die the same amount in each room. But yeah, the ship manages to pick us up, because of course the ship has a teleporter on it. So there is a very good reason we came to outer space. And they weren't able to find us because of the interference, but of course we turned that off. So if there's one thing we've learned from this game, I think it's that just destroying computer monitors that control dimensional rifts helps. It's a very good thing to do. I also learned that lesson from Doom in 2016. So yeah, Captain Viridian comes up with a new plan. We found this dimension, which scattered our team, and we managed to get the team back. So now we should try to solve the mystery of this dimension. And they also talk about saving their home dimension, because apparently there's something wrong with it. That might have been mentioned at the beginning of the game, I do not know.
That would explain why they're out here in the first place.
Yeah. Maybe that's why it reminds me of Pikmin. So yeah, there it is, rooms named by Bennett Foddy. He always wanted his name up in lights.
I don't think I've mentioned this until now, but I just remember that they're doing the same shtick as Clue.
Yeah. Did you notice that Ian Bogost, Marcus Persson, and Stephen Lavelle were all mentioned in the list of, patrons?
I did not.
All fairly well-known game designers? Or Ian Bogost is more of an academic. But Marcus Persson is Notch, who made Minecraft. That's a pretty big deal.
Oh! Is that how his name is pronounced?
Yeah, I think it's Persson. It might be Pearson. I'm not sure.
He's not terribly well regarded these days, but he was a big player back in the day.
Talking about Notch?
Yeah.
What's wrong with Notch?
I think he's kind of,
Weird? Scandinavian people often are.
Well, no, he's got... I'm trying to remember exactly what...
Say no more. I understand completely. But yeah, so our reward for completing the game is this, frankly, kind of eerie scene where we have the characters playing in a band. Because, of course, that's what happens at the end of every TV show from the 70s.
I don't think I wanted to see them this close. This is, more horrifying than the Teletubbies.
It's uncanny, and the weird thing is their bodies also seem much taller here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little awkward. So yeah, anyway, this is the end of the game, but it is not the end of the game. We'll be seeing you next time for the bonus material, everybody. So good night.